Oh, dude. Was out there for like about 4 hours today, man. And it just the with multiple apps running, Walmart, Spark, fucking Uber Eats, and the only offers popping up were so freaking bad that it's like I could make more money dumpster diving for cans, or just like, yeah, I could make more money like riding a bicycle down the street and just hopping off to grab whatever empty cans are laying alongside the road, or going for a walk in the park and picking cans out of trash cans or something, than I would make fucking trying to make all these fucking bullshit deliveries that they're offering. It's just fucking ridiculous. Like, really fucking ridiculous. Like, who the fuck is... Dude, this shit ain't even real. It's straight up like, the Truman Show from hell or something, basically. Truman Show in hell. Truman Part 2, Truman Hell. That's what the fuck this is, man. We'll talk about Target the bill. Dude, every time I fucking go there, same goddamn people just sitting around in the parking lot all day. Clearly not going out making deliveries or shopping or anything. They're just parked in corners around me. Every time I pull in there, the same car is parked there. Sometimes the people are sitting in them, sometimes they're not. Same people, same vehicles. Other people pull up along, a couple parking spots away and start blasting some, like, last one was blasting some, devil music. Some sort of rap music, psychotic murder rap music with blasting, I heard some of the lyrics were like, yeah, Satan, fucking 666, motherfucker, and all this, got a fucking thin blue line sticker in their window. They got goddamn pentagrams and shit in there. Yeah, that's what it's every fucking day, dude. Every time I get, pretty much, yeah. I try to go out and do anything fucking productive at the time. It's just like fucking it's like I try to go out and make any money to be able to pay bills or something, and I might as well be Truman trying to fucking drive to Fiji, except way more insane than that. Start going out, it's like blue skies, sunshine. I get out there, dark clouds roll in, creepy ass fog. You can just feel the weird orbs floating overhead, probably. You know. Right now for like 4 fucking hours today getting money. Got like one order that was actually halfway worth like even getting up for. Made like $13 to pick up some pots and pans and deliver them across town a little ways. Everything else was such shit that it's like, you know. I'd rather they didn't even send orders that crappy to me because, it's just a waste of my time. I don't even want to. I wouldn't even, for orders that shitty, I don't even want to bother to like have to look down at my phone to see them because it's just like somebody spit in my face over and over, basically. And it just gets worse and worse, man. You know, maybe what's happening is, well, other than the supernatural, weird Truman show and hell fucking kind of thing that I'm dealing with, I'll try to make a logical point on this, that, you know, would give your average normal person that hasn't experienced Truman show hell, you know, some other way of trying to explain away how shitty it is. And, well, when you first sign up, when you first get signed up and you start doing deliveries for some specific, you know, platform or whatever, you start out with 100% acceptance rating because, and, you know, they're trying to incentivize you to go out and make a bunch of deliveries, so they'll start sending you some good ones, you know. And then if you're in like a really crappy area and that you start to just have a lot of really terrible orders that they're throwing towards you, then before, you know, it doesn't take too long before your acceptance rating is down like ridiculously low. I mean, the type of orders they're sending me today, you know, my acceptance rating would be like, what? Lower than 1% of the shit that I see in the last 4 hours. Mm-hmm. It's all fucking trash, man. But try to live in this world with money, you know, the way things are going, like, I mean, if I could get like a normal ass job somewhere, well, then here's how I picture that existence, because, you know, I've done similar to it and I've seen how other people have lived and stuff. You know, I picture that existence as sort of basically, you become a robot. Your life is pretty much like this. It's like, get up, take a shit, get dressed, maybe shower or whatever, go to work all day long, be a robot, get back, leave at the same time, get back at the same time, do the same thing repeatedly every day for shit pay. If you have a place to sleep, then at a specific time you go back to that place. Try to get yourself to eat something. Try to sleep so you can get up and do the same thing again the next day. Forever and ever and ever and ever. Wow, that sounds great, doesn't it? Oh boy. Or, right. Or you just, you know, be homeless. Really, honestly, it's not like an either or thing. You could do both. You could be homeless while you work all day and then go try to sleep in your car so that you can get up the next day and work all day to go back and sleep in your car. If you can afford to have a car that runs. You might be able to afford to have a car that runs as long as you spend every single day of your life being a robotic slave. Doesn't that sound nice? Oh, I don't know, more and more days I'm having lately where it's like, when I do, you know, clear my head, sober up for a number of days, and try to, you know, really get my things together, you know, and I health right, take care of everything, you know. Got my sandwiches made, I got some energy drinks ready to go, I get my tea, I got my car gassed up, I'm ready to go work. And then I just find myself sitting in the parking lot for hours with the type of orders showing up are basically so terrible that it's like somebody's just spitting in my face over and over 4, 5, 6 hours in a row, or you know, until it just gets to the point where it's like, why am I even bothering to continue to sit here? Yeah. Why am I even bothering to have this app running? You know? Like if I was so desperate for money, I'd make more money jumping in trash cans to find cans to turn in for the fucking depositor. Robbing people or something, yeah. Hell, I could make a lot. I think, yeah, I honestly believe I would make much more money if I just wrote, like, you know, anything helps, or bet you can't have you with a quarter or something on a fucking cardboard sign and just sat down on the fucking curb somewhere outside a store. Make more fucking money that way, probably. Mm-hmm. Just fly a goddamn sign, make way more money. It's like, yeah. Everything's just like repeatedly doubling, tripling in price, like constantly, right? You know? You go to buy a sandwich, the sandwich is 3, 4 times what it was a couple of years ago. You go buy you know, whatever food, it's, you know, same thing, everything, same thing, you know, pretty much. And it's always happening, like, you know, this stuff like it used to be in a certain price, and I go in and now it's like twice the price, or a third higher, you know, or doubled, you know, prices just double overnight, you know, for everything. Pretty much, it just keep happening. And then the amount of money I can make, it just keeps getting fucking lower and lower and lower. And when I try to go out and try to, you know, sit around, well, it gets feeling pretty pointless, you know. I mean, I could sit around on a bed in front of a TV and make no money. Or I could sit around in my car in a parking lot surrounded by a bunch of perps spying on me all day and make no money. You know, if those are my two options, then why not just fucking sit on a bed instead, you know? At this point, you know. Of course, the bed's out the fucking window for too long because without making fucking money to pay for this damn room, you know. Alright, so. There goes that, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and I dealt with a little bit of I dealt with some of your, you know, your average everyday for me type of, when I pay attention to it, you know, the whole religious, spiritual type aspect that I deal with a lot, you know, what with the 666s and the 316s, the satanic symbolism, and then the Jesus messages and the weird, you know, Well, I mean, I read to your average person. If I pointed out like the level to which the weird symbolism and shit goes throughout a day, you know, most people would probably say I read too much into some things, but it's just that, it's so constant and steady with this kind of shit that I start realizing that even some of the more subtle things, it's probably fair enough to read into them. Like, it's probably even fair enough. Well, like, one of the places I'm sitting at a stop sign, and there's a couple vehicles in front, one in a turn lane, one in front of me. One of them's an Avalon, and the other's an Equinox, right? See, that most people would say you're just, reading too much into some complete, something like that. Most people would say, oh, you're just reading too much into something that's completely coincidental, right? But I I fucking really get into where I don't really believe too much in coincidence, type of shit that I deal with, man. No, man. Well, because, like, Avalon, isn't that what they were used to call, like, medieval England or something? Or like, a magical land, it's supposed to be this positive thing? Like, back in the days of King Arthur and all that kind of shit, right? And then, Equinox wasn't like a... Well, it's kind of like a... you got the spring equinox. Whatever, right? Or, like, other shit will happen where I'll be, like, thinking to myself, I was like a fucking stuck in the goddamn Matrix or something, and then I'll pull up and look at the car in front of me, and it's like Matrix. It's like a green car that says Matrix. Always some weird. I have a runny nose. I blow my nose. I look up, the car in front of me's got a license plate that says nose. So, right? I feel something like a toothache when I bite into something. And I'll look up and another car, next to me says tooth or some decay or cavity or some shit, right? Like, no, I mean, that's like the level of weird, crazy shit I deal with sometimes. The more I pay attention to all the little details of my surroundings, the more stuff I spot, Most of the time, I just try not to pay too much attention. Try to just pretend like, like shit's normal, because what else am I supposed to do, right? But if I start really paying attention to, like, details in my surroundings, I start to see all kinds of fucking, weird shit, like license plates and the stickers on people's cars and shirts that people are wearing and the shit that they say and the symbolism all around me and things on signs and people, it's just... Yeah, it's like all-encompassing weird shit, basically. The more carefully I pay attention, the more weird and crazy, like, shit that I start to see, and it starts to be like, yeah, none of this is fucking coincidence. This is all, like, beyond some Truman Show shit, Usually I just try to, like, pretend like as though I'm in some kind of normal-ass world, try to zone out, just try to go out and do what I'm supposed to do or whatever. Just to try to have a fucking life or whatever. But so much shit fucks with me a lot of the time. There's just like to feel like, what's the point, Like, what's the point? Sometimes it just does really seems pointless, It's like, because all this crazy weird shit fucking with me. Sometimes I just feel like, like, I don't know, like I ought to just go lay down in the fucking woods somewhere and, go live in a tent in the fucking woods or something, and wait around to die for this bullshit to be over because there's no fucking point. It's all a bunch of fake ass bullshit fucking with me and, you know. Basically. Just strip naked, run off into the forest and eat grass and poop in the woods and, sleep in the dirt. Try and live in this fucking shit, Go find a cave somewhere. Living off of grass and the drippings from the ceiling. Something in the way. Ooh. Something in the way. Straight up, dude. Shit feels pointless, And, I've had lots of times where I think, it's like some of the shit seems like, some kind of fucking test of your goodness or your whatever the fuck, right? But even that shit, it really feels like, if you really look at it, it's like everything, like trying to be good in this place even is like really, for the most part, it's like the trolley problem, Like, how would you answer the trolley problem? Have you heard that before, where they're like, oh, there's 3 people over on this track, and there's 5 people, tied to this track, and you can choose which track to run the train into, And then there's all these, like, details about the people, and then all these questions about who are these people, who are those, But, either way, no matter, like, pretty much, I guess if I had to answer the question, I'd say maybe, try, like, switching back and forth really fast to the thing to try to get the fucking thing to rock, and maybe it tip the fuck over before it, maybe it would derail in the middle or something. Yeah. But the only thing I can think of with the trolley problem would be to try to center it or shift back and forth to try to get it to like start rocking and fucking derail. Alright? I don't know. Or just jump off the fucking trolley and, I don't know. Well, here comes the train. Just in time. Check this out. Talking about a trolley problem. Here comes the trolley. Shit, dude. You see what I'm saying, man? See what I'm saying? You feel me? Yeah. I'm sorry, man. The way this shit is, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. There ain't nothing you can fucking do right in this fucking place, dude. Yeah. Pretty much. And you could say, oh, that's bullshit, but no, really think about it though, right? Well, you could think of so many things that are similar to the trolley problem. Let's say you're walking through the desert with a gallon of water, and you come across 100 people dying of thirst in the desert. What do you do? Right? Or you've got $100 to help out the poor, and you pull into a parking lot, and there's let's even say there's 100 homeless people there. Do you give them each $1 so that none of them can really afford to get anything with it, or do you give one of them $100, or do you give 10 of them $10? Maybe you give 20 of them $5. Like, how helpful do you really want to be? And now you don't have any money, so now you don't have anything to eat. You see what I'm saying, right? So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Or think about like a movie with you remember, wasn't there like a movie with Will Smith where he's like donating all his body parts to people that fucking need, transplants and shit like that, right? Well, it was awful nice of him, but he's screwing himself over, for one thing. And what about the other thousands or millions of people that needed those body parts? Well, now they don't get them because he gave them to somebody else. What a monster he is, then. You know? You can't really win here with trying to be good or like anything. You can try to be, if you're... No. Honestly, like, if you really think about it, this place is a place of full-on darkness where... Well, yeah, I mean, like, everything here is, like, based on death and destruction, kind of, for the most part, it seems to be, right? Like, if you eat to survive, you're consuming the life of something else. Like, if you eat, it doesn't matter if you're a vegan or a meat eater or what. It's something that was alive that you're now consuming. Right? Every breath you take is less oxygen for everything else, Every... Yeah. In a place like this, it's just... Everything in this place, basically, especially the most wealthy and so-called successful people in this world, thrive on death and destruction and on harming and screwing over others, and the people that are the most effective at fucking over and murdering and robbing other people are the people that have the most fucking shit. And yeah. In this place. Because that seems to be the nature of this place, Everyone's like, we're moving into 5D. Everything is wonderful, people. It's just so wonderful, 5D. Like, really? Oh, man. No, I mean, seriously, think about it. In this place, really, like, if you go walk down the street, or you roll around in the grass, or you take a walk through the park, or whatever, Well, imagine how many insects and little tiny tree frogs and worms and things that you're stepping on. And when you consider that the grass that you're walking on is like a living, breathing thing that you're now stomping into the dirt, and then all the other organisms that you tread upon, right? Just to walk from one place to another in this place, man. In order for you to like walk from one side of the street to the other, like little organisms have to die, you know, basically. It's like that's this whole fucking thing. This whole place is fucked, dude. Ain't it? What do you think about it, Eric? Basically. No, I don't know. I've thought about this sort of shit before, you know? I remember I started thinking about some of this kind of shit, like, I don't remember how many years back, right? I remember when I was a kid, I used to hate, like, bees, you know? How they would, because had been stung by bees a number of times. You know, my dad's having me mow the grass. I probably run over their nest or kill a bunch of them, and then I get stung, or I'm just walking through the wrong place, or you know, right? So you know, as when you're a kid, you and your friends, you know, throw rocks at a bee's nest, stuff like that, or throw sticks at you, you know, shoot BB guns at, whatever the hell, you know. Yeah, fucking bees, hate those things, right? And then you start to realize that those things are spreading pollen around to all the things, so that if they weren't there anymore in a real world, according to what we're told, then all the plant life would die. And not only that, well, pretty much all the plant life would die, and that would kill off pretty much all the animal life, and there would be nothing left, basically, but bacteria, which even itself you would think would eventually die when there's nothing left for it to feed upon. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, when I started to see the, you know, bees declining, and I started to appreciate bees more somewhat, you know, I'd sit on the grass, and I think I even let a bee land on my hand and stuff sometimes. It could, you know. Well, because I thought I found it interesting. I remember sitting on the grass, and I started to think about like how every time I would mow the grass, right? How many little mice, snakes, and little frogs was I running over with the lawnmower? How many moths and butterflies and, you know, worms and, you know, on and on was I killing just by mowing the grass or just by tilling up the soil to plant a garden? You know what I mean? Like, really. And then I was thinking about how, like, I was watching all these bees because I noticed, like, the population of bees massively decline, you know? And I started to notice bees that I would never see pollinating things. Now there's all these bees that didn't seem to look like, I never remember them pollinating things before. But there's all these different types of bees that I, you know, never noticed being pollinators that were out pollinating stuff. Like they were picking up the slack for like the bees that would normally handle pollinating, because those ones are dead or there's less of them, so now the other bees are picking up the slack. And it's like, it's one of the things I recognized about that. And then, you know, the more I would think about like wanting to do like do-gooder shit or whatever, right? As years went by, like every time I would loan money to someone or just give somebody money to help them out or something, whatever, right? Or every time I would be in traffic and I'd see someone trying to pull out in traffic and there's a bunch of traffic and I'd slow down and I'd stop and say, "Oh, come on, get out here," right? Stuff like that. Or, somebody standing by their mailbox waiting to get across the street. I'd stop my car and let them cross the street. I started thinking about all this shit about how, like, by doing that, it's kind of the person there that's trying to cross the street, but not so kind to the people sitting in the 20 cars behind me, or to myself for that, right? And the same, goes for pretty much anything, right? It's like the trolley problem over and over with everything, man. Yeah. Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, For the most part, not with everything, but well, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, Well, honestly, like, even if you like totally change this whole thing up, right? Like, let's say, like, even if you changed up the circumstance and tried to make it like you're trying to get rid of someone that's completely evil, right? You don't really know what the what the circumstances could be, or what sort of differences could occur. Like, for instance, if you were to go back in time and I don't know, strangle Hitler to death in his crib or something, right? How do you know that somebody more effective and dangerous and destructive and more intelligent than him wouldn't have risen up and taken his place because he did that? You know what I mean? Yeah, like, for instance, I'll give you an example, right? Maybe this is, again, just kind of a fictional example, but let's say you did that, right? And now, in this alternate timeline that you created, Hitler does not become the Fuhrer of the Third Reich, but instead they choose to like Rudolf Hess gets together and makes, let's say, the Desert Fox becomes like the absolute military leader of the Third Reich, and he's far more effective because he's actually a very skilled military leader, right? And now the entire fucking world is ruled by the Third Reich because you went back and strangled Hitler in his crib. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you don't know. Yeah, Erwin Rommel, dude. I don't think he was quite so psychotic. In fact, I'm pretty sure he tried to, like, take Hitler out himself at some point, but... Yeah, but if he felt like he was doing the right thing for his country and he was pressured by, these people that were basically controlling Hitler and stuff like that, and they had put him in control of all the military actions, everything would have been more proficient. They probably would have won a lot more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or, let's say... I'm just saying, how would you know? How are you supposed to know, right? Like, you could go back in time and, yeah, like, for all we know, somebody who got their, brains eaten by Jeffrey Dahmer might have turned out to be a mass shooter at a school, or, you know what I'm saying? Right? Or they might have been, gone on to be go to college and become a scientist working on germ biowarfare and released a plague onto the earth, or you know what I'm saying? I saw this YouTube video. It was just supposed to be like a funny YouTube video, I think this was just yesterday. It said, what it would really be like to go back to 1999 or whatever the heck, right? And the guy's like, hell yeah, I want to go back to the 90s. And then this dude, he's there, is like, all right, now you've got 2 years to stop 9/11. He's like, now you have to, hijack a plane so that they'll beef up security and blah, blah, blah. And the guy has his life ruined, and now everyone thinks he's a terrorist, and you know what I'm saying? And he actually stops 9/11, but it completely ruins his life and makes him look like a monster, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, who the fuck knows, right? Or let's say you could go back in time and, let's say you could go back in time and you could take out the postwriter that told the Rothschilds about the defeat of Napoleon or something, or you could warn Napoleon about the Prussians and the attack was going to come upon him, and help him to reinforce so that Napoleon won. And then the Rothschilds failed to take over England, and the central bank of today doesn't exist, and all that kind of stuff, and however good that sounds, right? But for all you know, Napoleon and the people over there could have turned out to become more tyrannical, or they could have just created a more powerful, union with some other people that got together, and then maybe when they died, someone else that maybe his grandson or his great-great-grandson would turn out to be super evil and even worse than what we have now. You know what I'm saying? Like, or you could go back in time and I don't know, help the Irish and the Scottish to beat the King of England, and way back in the day, and them to keep their country sovereign or something. But then maybe, who knows, maybe generations down the line, Bonnie Prince Charlie and his descendants or something turn out to be way more fucking wicked and dark than even the fucking British Empire or something, and they fucking, and now you've just got like Scottish nobility fucking ruling over us that's even more powerful and wicked, like, who the fuck knows, right? I'm just saying, like, you can take this like trolley analogy and use it for almost anything here, It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Good intention, bad intention. It just seems like everything here is kind of fucked, No, and you could say the same for any sort of religious group, no matter who you want to blame. Even if you're like a Satanist or something, then you absolutely think that Christianity is the worst thing in history and it's terrible and blah blah blah. And if you could just go back and help the Vikings and the pagans and the whatever, the druids to become more powerful to defeat the fucking, blah, blah, blah in the past, and now we would have the old gods and blah, 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 right? Well, then maybe today we'd be, living in something that you would love. We'd have blood sacrifices and bodies hanging from trees everywhere, and, you know, I don't know. Would that sound good to you? Like who the fuck knows? You don't know that there's anything, no matter what, that you can do, this way, that way, if and or but, this or that, changes to history or things that you could do to help this person or that person or harm this person or that person all throughout history or whatever that would make any fucking difference or make anything any better. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of, yeah. Well, it seems to me that, when it comes to that sort of thing, militaristically, as far as, historical groups that are perceived as wicked. And you got to understand that when it comes to that sort of thing, the perspective is different from different, there's a lot of different perspectives, just in the same way that if you're standing on top of a mountain looking down at a forest, you can't see the forest through the trees. In the same way, if you're standing on the forest floor beneath the trees, you can't see the mountain through the trees, Mm-hmm. In the same way that you would be perceived as a giant by a man that's 3 inches tall, perceived as a shrimp by a man that's 12 feet tall. you know? Or in the same way that maybe an Englishman would perceive certain native groups as brutal savages, while the native groups themselves would say the same thing about the English, And maybe they both would be right, and both wrong. And the things that each of them say could be true. And some of the things that they each would say could be false. Man with his head in the clouds cannot see the surface of the earth below him, and a man on the ground cannot see above the clouds. You know? I'm just saying, like, we don't... This place is very confusing, and it seems like kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation here. There's, yeah, it's kind of a hell realm here, isn't it, Death and decay, suffering, grief, loss, conflict, strife. Everything that lives feeds on the death of something else, and yeah. It's like a very parasitic existence, no matter who or what you are. Like in this place, it seems like, Of course, there's levels to this shit, varying degrees. Going on ranting about the shit. I don't know, I was just gonna stay out and try to make some money today, but Jesus. I sit around wait fucking 4 hours to make $13. I could have made more money as long as I didn't mind, wasting hours and hours of my time and a bunch of the gas that I had to pay for in exchange for money that's far less than minimum wage. Mm-hmm. Well, it seems to me that there's no... This place is fucked, and the only way to... A lot of people would put it this way. They would say that the only way to win is not to play the game. Like... Yeah. I don't know. And this place is so... I would say immoral and screwed up in so many ways. I mean... And I think most people have that sort of perspective, but just from different types of perspectives. Everybody wants to point the finger here, or point the finger there, point the finger at, they like to point to themselves and say, I am holy and righteous and just, and you are terrible, and you are bad, and you are the problem, and everyone likes to do that, and everybody's standing around in a circle pointing their finger at each other, saying it's your fault. But everybody's Spider-Man, like the meme. You're bad. No, you are. No, you are. No, you are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Place is so friggin' weird, though. Trying to figure out what the hell the point of this thing is. Well, okay. I can give you kind of my perspective on what I think about this whole God and the devil shit that plays out here. Because it definitely does play out like that. Well, the way that it plays out, though, it doesn't seem, doesn't add up, right? Okay, like, you ever really try to picture what you would imagine God or the devil would be like, right? I mean, what do you think of, like, let's say you're trying to picture, like, a 500-year-old vampire. You're walking down a dark alleyway or into some old gothic building somewhere and you run into a 500 or 600-year-old vampire. What would you expect them to be like? How would you picture the way that they would dress, the way they would speak, the way they would carry themselves, the type of music they would listen to? What type of drink, what type of food would they like? What type of, what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, how would you picture their style, their dress, the way they would talk, the way they would carry themselves, the way they would, you know, what would their accent sound like? What kind of music would they like? You know what I mean? So on and so forth. Like, how would you picture their personality? Uh, what sort of intelligence level would you expect to you know what type of a level of maturity and intellect and would you expect to come across? You know what I mean? Now, if you're talking about something like a devil or God or something like that, right? That's taking it way beyond like a 500-600 year mark to like thousands of years longer. You know what I mean? I mean, personally, if I think about something like that, I would think at the very least it'd be like goddamn Antonio Banderas or like Tom Cruise's Lestat and like Interview with a Vampire and shit. Across some dude with like you know wearing a puffy shirt, you know, riding around in a horse and buggy with a lantern. Some guy playing a fiddle, wearing a black robe, you know, gold chains, drinking a bottle of wine that was bottled back in the 1500s or something. You know, going shopping at the store down the street, trying to pay with doubloons. You know, like wearing shoes. handmade from the skin of children, stitched by a cobbler 500 years ago. Like, you see what I'm saying, right? Wearing a fucking cape, you know, bunch of holes in it, because he's had this cape for like 200 years. Right? They just don't make them like they used to. No, seriously, man. Or like beyond that, like even like try to imagine yourself, right? If you were like, let's say you grew up in the 1760s or something. or let's make it late. Let's just make it later, right? Just to make it a little more relatable here. Like, let's say you grew up in the early 1900s, and you became a vampire, right? In like the early 1900s or some shit, right? At the age of 20 or 19 or whatever the hell, right? And the music playing on the radio is like Billy Murphy, and you know, and like coming out with the Model T Ford, and you could get a house for $500, and you know, blah blah blah, right? Now here it is, you know, well over 100 years later, right? And all the people you grew up with, except for other whatever vampires like you or something, are dead, or you know, in retirement homes, and they're fucking gone, and like, you know what I mean? Like, just think, like, even in such a fairly short period of time, like, how completely out of touch with the modern day you would be. You think you'd be bumping fucking, bumping some modern rap music, driving a modern car? Or would you be, you know, stretching it to be, like, listening to, you know, maybe you have changed over the years, and now you like Sinatra and Dean Martin or something, right? You started to like the music in the 50s, but as it, you know, time passed on, it just got weird and totally out of tune with what you were used to, right? But now imagine that kind of thing, like, times 100. No, times 1,000, times 10,000. You see what I'm saying? That's the kind of shit you should expect to see if you were dealing with, like, God or the devil or some super ancient vampire or fucking alien species or whatever the fuck, right? Yeah. Or maybe it's an old Dutch vampire. He walks up in like wooden shoes, dressed in burlap with a rope tied around his waist. Or the vampire from the 1500s, he says thee and dawn, and, you know, sounds like he's speaking German or something when he's really just speaking Old English, you know. Yea, though dawn and verily then there, just would seem completely out of place. But that's not the kind of shit we see, though. Or that's not the sort of shit that I run into, right? I don't run into that kind of shit. I run into, like, modern sort of stuff, modern sort of thinking, almost, childish, immature. I'm not going to say lack of intelligence. Certainly not a lack of intelligence or creativity, but not the sort of intelligence or creativity that you would expect to see from something that's like thousands of years old and been around the block a lot, right? No, I mean really, like if you were gonna like if you imagine like the devil rolling up on you or something, what would you expect it to look like, right? Like even say he looks like a human being or whatever, right? Would you expect to see him rolling up in like a motorcade or a modern fucking vehicle? Or would you expect to see something more along the lines of like a golden chariot or like a horse-drawn wagon with like horses with like fire and smoke coming off of them, like galloping up and like a fucking weird glow and a smoke surrounding the fucking thing, and this dude just fucking steps out. He's dressed like some, you know, prince from like the 1300s or some shit, and fucking robes and gold chains and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we start speaking, it's like, yo, then very some ancient language you don't even fucking understand. I'm just saying, which would really make more sense. He's bumping rap music in a modern vehicle. Or he's like living in an ancient castle that was built 2,000 years ago, and it's got big like tapestries of dragons hanging on the wall, and dresses in strange tunics and robes and stuff like that that was totally in style, like 1,000 years ago or something, right? I'm just saying, like, that's. He's riding along in his gold carriage. His groom of the stool is there carrying around his portable toilet, and there's a guy up front, playing fucking. That old fucking, like, tune on a fiddle. It's got a fiddle made out of gold, playing like some ancient fucking song, out of like Babylon or Egypt or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Or some shit that sounds like, be playing in like the palace of a 15th century fucking palace or something, you know? Still carrying his favorite sword from back in the day. It's made out of like brass or a piece of bone or something, you know, carved out of a dinosaur bone or some shit, you know. I'm just saying, like that would be like the. I mean, really, if you really were trying to picture like what would it be more like, you know, if it was like really like the stories and so on, you know, then would you think somebody would be all totally in tune with like the style and the culture and the blah blah blah, or that they would be like so fucking out of touch because they, you know. I don't know, man. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's that guy that tried out for maybe it was that old dude that like got on America's Got Talent and he's like 90 years old and he started singing, you know, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, right? Maybe it's that dude, right? You know. Well, I mean, think it. What sort of music would you think that somebody would like who was already beyond ancient long before the Titanic sunk to the bottom of the ocean? You know? You know? Right? No, I mean, really, like, if it was like the type of shit, like the spiritual realm, some ancient fucking being or whatever, like, what would you expect, right? Would you expect, like, let's say oh, this thing is coming over the ocean, right? What would you expect to see? Would you expect to see, like, a fucking helicopter or something? A multi-million-dollar cruise ship? Or just, like, a strange mist appears and there's, like, a weird fucking, you know, ancient like Viking ghost ship with a bunch of heads hanging from it, you know, sails out of the mist, you know, ghostly spirits come flying off of it, and some fucking thing just starts treading over the water like, You hear the fucking drums beating, boom, 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 boom. You know, like I would just think, if this was as it's supposed to be presented, like this religious thing, right? You would think it would be more like that kind of shit, right? Wouldn't you? Well, either that or like spaceships, right? Spaceships, chariots of fire from the sky. Well, no, I mean, I get that it's like the way it's been presented in popular culture and stuff, right? Like, for instance, what's that series? All the shit with all the what was it? Vampire Diaries or some bullshit like, you know, or what is that crap called again? The poofy, fucking weird little poofy vampires that go to high school and shit like that, right? Well, I mean, could you imagine being, say, 200 years old, 300 years old, and going to high school? What the fuck? Right? I think I'm gonna sit through class and learn about the patriarchy. Like fucking 400-year-old vampire, like. Right. No, really, man. I mean, in some ways, like the weird way that the Bram Stoker Dracula was portrayed would probably be accurate. You know, they show up at his castle. He's dressed all weird. He's got fucking hair down to his feet, basically. He's super like weird and out of place and creepy acting, and. And then when he fucking like tries to shapeshift to look more modern, he still looks like he's out of the fucking like 1200s or something with his weird puffy shirt and everything, and you know, yeah. Well, no, I mean, think about it, right? Imagine how out of place you would be after like a few hundred years somewhere, right? especially if you like had money to be able to just get away from the bullshit and you didn't want to really be around people much anymore because they're just so fucking out of place and like have nothing in common with you and there's nothing to fucking talk about and they're just boring as shit to you because you've just been around for 400 years. All your fucking friends and all the people that know your stories and your fucking life are fucking gone for hundreds of years. And by the time you fucking decide to come out of the house and go look around, all of a sudden, you know people got MP3 players and you see a record player, you're like, what's this? You see a light bulb, you're like, oh my gosh, it's as if magic illuminates the sky. You know? How fucking out of place. How easy it would be, right? To just, especially if you had like a fortune, right? For, you know, to be just completely out of fucking place, right? Then you're like, if you're a bloodthirsty monster, the devil or a vampire or something, right? Maybe you're like, I think I need to bring myself more up to date with modern times. You try to make a friend, but he kind of is annoying and stupid, so you just end up killing him and drinking their blood. And you just sit there alone in your castle in your weird fucking 600-year-old fucking clothing and. I mean, and if you're talking about something like a fallen angel or a demon or whatever, even say holy angel of God or God Himself or right? Whatever. It would be like I would imagine like at the even in the beginning, right? It would be like how well do you think you would do if you just like traveled to Mars and there was this whole civilization that had been there for thousands of years that had their own unique customs and their own unique language that you didn't understand, and you just were dropped off on Mars and you had to try to live out your life there, even if you could live to be 10,000 years old. Like how are you going to fit in, right? How are you going to blend in, you know? Uh, you ever see that meme where it's got like Steve Buscemi with a backwards hat and a skateboard and shit, and he's like, "Hey kids, I'm one of you," or whatever. Hey fellow kids, you know. I mean, think about it this way, just even on the most basic level, right? Especially if like you're somebody older, right? You ever like imagine you're 50 years old or something, right? And you walk into some club full of like teenagers and people in their early 20s, you know? Just how, awkward it would be trying to fit in and mingle with people there, you know what I mean? Now scratch that. You're not 50, you're 550. No, you're 5,000. You're 10,000 now. Now you're gonna walk into a club with some 20-year-olds and be like, "Hey, fellow 20-year-olds." Right? Really? Just gonna blend in, are you? We have studied their rap and culture. We believe we are prepared to fit in here. According to our research, it is very stylish to wear a hat on our head. It is a head covering. It is now backwards. It will be more stylish that way. Like fucking. Hello, fellow humans. I am one of you. Can you not tell? Right? Yes, I like the hip hop as well. Right? It's just like, I'll just say, like, the way shit goes down here, is fucking, this seems fake as shit, dude, No matter how you look at it, if it was future people, outer space people, God, devil, whatever the fuck, right? I wouldn't imagine it would be quite so simple for them to blend in or to not seem so out of place, you know what I mean? And yet in this place, the ones that don't seem to be human or whatever, that don't seem to be normal, it seems to be the norm. Abnormality, strangeness, all that is the norm here, right? So, in a sense, it seems less like some kind of invasion of the body snatchers thing has happened. I mean, that's one theory. It seems more like, we got our fucking bodies snatched and dropped onto some kind of fake fucking planet or something. Yep. Dumped into the Matrix or some shit, Ah, fuck it, I gotta just put these energy drinks and water and stuff away. I'll leave it in the fucking ice chest. Doesn't really matter though. Yeah. I'll do it anyways. Not like there's a hurry. It's still cold and everything. Take a water bottle. Yeah, sure. I already ate the fucking sandwich. I'm saying here? Like, this shit's weird, man. I know that I'm not the only, or, or at least the Truman Show Matrix weird hell simulation that I'm in would have me believe that there's other, genuine people in similar circumstances to me here. Similar experiences, somewhat, although differing in exactly how that goes down. But no, I don't think I'm like the only Truman in the Truman Show here. It's more like, yeah, I don't know. Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Oh, shit's weird, man. Scrub the. I'm gonna have to use this to wash this since the damn thing can't fill it with water. Rinse it out of the fucking tub. Externalized internal dialogue. Yeah, this is kind of a hellscape here. Hear other people say that that's basically think of a hell realm or whatever. There's aspects of a lot of types of things here, like that. Well, there's a heck of a lot of stuff here that doesn't add up, doesn't make a lot of sense. Oh, so many, so very many. I mean, the people that, the other target, other TIs or whatever, right, refer to as the perps or whatever, right? A lot of things about them don't really make a lot of sense. Like, I'm sure if you've experienced similar types of things, you must have wondered sometimes, uh, how do they afford to live? Who's paying them? You know, don't they have better things to do? You know, so on and so forth, right? Like when I see the same people every day, I pull into park somewhere at the Walmart parking lot to try to do spark deliveries or something. I see the exact same people there that don't appear to be employees there, don't appear to be working or shopping there, stay there for ridiculous amounts of time. and they don't look like they're living in their car there either or anything. So, and they just so happen to be right around where I'm parked, and so on and so forth, and strange things about their character, mannerism, the way they look, the types of things you hear them say from a ways off, and so on. Mm-hmm. This doesn't seem right. Oh, I notice all sorts of shit, dude. Like, well, for instance, like if I'm when I'm out making deliveries during days, I'm working hours that if these other people have jobs or whatever, right? Then you wouldn't expect to see them out shopping at a grocery store during like work hours, right? And if they had, say, a night job, for instance, well, then you would expect them to be at home sleeping. And if they were living in their vehicles, in many instances, you would expect to be able to see some signs that would lead you to believe that it looks like they do live in their vehicle. Even if they're just subtle signs like pile of blankets sticking up in the side window in the back seat of their car, or expired tags, or old worn out vehicle, or extra dirty clothes, or whatever. But no, I see people a lot of the time during like hours that would be work hours for any normal person that had a job, and they appear as though they certainly give the appearance as though they have money and they have resources and transportation, yet they seem to have an awful lot of free time, and they don't look like they're homeless. They don't, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll show up at people's house or apartment or something in the middle of the day. Some apartment that I know costs, $2,000 a month to rent or something, right? And they're just in their apartment, dressed in sweatpants, playing a video game or fucking around at their house that they have in the middle of the week on a weekday during work hours, etc. Right? I'm seeing a lot of that, and they don't appear to be, elderly, retired, or disabled, or any kind of shit like that. Somehow they seem to have resources to buy a lot of shit and to be able to afford expensive rent or expensive house, expensive car, expensive clothes, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Without seeming to have to do anything for it other than to just happen to be around wherever the fuck I am, right? And then there's stuff that's much more strange, like would appear to be the same people um, trying to not be noticed as the same people, playing different character roles, dressing differently, driving different vehicles, trying to switch up their appearance, and appearing to be a poor homeless person one moment, when you see that same person another day appearing as though they have money, driving a fancy car around with their hair slicked back and wearing nice clothes and so on. Well, I mean, the type of the type of stuff I've seen. Some of the shit could be done by like a large, super well funded group of like human beings that were super obsessed and following me around or something. But a lot of the other stuff is just too weird and to be done by people, like a spiritual fucking thing or whatever. But it's spiritual slash Matrix NPC fucking whatever. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with this shit, dude. I don't know. It's a lot of bullshit here. I mean, I wish I could at least jump back in time or whatever, and knowing what I know now, and try to do things differently when times seemed better, and you know. I'll tell you, like, I don't know, this is difficult to explain what I mean somewhat, but I mean, it's like, what I experience is that this place seems like some kind of a spiritual realm, like a hell dimension type of thing, but with some aspects that almost seem to be like God or angels trying to test me or something. But but it's so strange and uncharacteristic of what you would expect for something like that to be like, that it just doesn't make a lot of fucking sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, on the one hand, it seems like a spiritual realm, God and the devil, heaven, hell type of landscape thing we got going on here. But on the other hand, that all seems fraudulent, fake, deceptive. Yeah. Ugh. It's just freaking weird here, man. It's very strange, very weird. Ugh.